But hey, speaking of Frank Ragnow, Ian Rapoport joins the McAfee Show. He shared with the people some background, some insight to whether or not the Lions knew he was retiring. This is probably one of the biggest questions that I had personally. Yeah. Now we have an answer. Let's take a listen to Ian Rapoport. This credit Pat McAfee, ESPN.
Frank Ragnow announced his retirement after 7 seasons from the Detroit Lions. Did you know this was coming? Did the Lions know it was coming? I assume they had an idea. And how do you, was it one injury that put him over the top that he was unable to come back for? We listed all the different things this guy has played through.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, well, let me get to your question first. The Lions knew it was coming. He's been absent from OTAs, and I think there was some does he want a new contract? The Lions knew he was weighing, should he play? My understanding yesterday was he was truly broken up about it. This is a warrior. I remember 2 years ago, or maybe last year, I think it was 2 years ago, I got word that he had suffered a serious injury. I believe it was a rotator cuff, something that obviously is a guy's out for the season. So, I kind of get ready. I make some calls, and I talk to somebody close to him, and I'm, talking to Lions sources, and they're like, hey, hang on, don't report that. I'm like, okay, but obviously, it's serious. And they're like, it's Frank Ragnow. He wants to come back and play. And for any other player, not any other player, but a lot of other players, I'd be like, okay. And he came back and played in 4 weeks. And that's what he was like. This guy was the heartbeat of one of the NFL's best offensive lines. So they knew. I think he knew. He's been through so much. He's played through so much. It seems like his body was just it's time. But this was, as people might say, a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats, Frank. Hell of a career. When people think your name, they think of a guy who's tough and played the game right. And you're obviously there for the transition from the old Lions to the brand new Lions. So it just kind of epitomizes everything the city's about, I think, Foxy.
Yeah, 100%. The epitome of a Detroit football player. Tough, gritty, always showed up, played for his teammates. The fans loved him. Everything you wanted in a football player, Frank Ragnow was that. We appreciate him so much. Definitely going to miss him this year. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, and also old Lions would have asked him for $10 million back.
Yes.
True. Brand new Lions say, hey, we'll celebrate you probably. If I had to guess, Sheila Ford Hamp is doing things a little bit
Put
different.
him in the Ring of Honor.
Immediately.
He deserves it.
Yeah, have him, Kid Rock, Eminem.
Yep.
Oh,
Big
Tim
Sean.
Robinson, Posner.
Tim Robinson, Posner. Put him up.
He didn't go through those shitty days to retire unless it was something super serious. So I'm bummed for him, but very happy for his career, and I hope he's doing good in retirement.
I think he's even going to say, Posner, bury me in Detroit, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, 100%. He'll say that.
He got married there.
And he loves fishing, so he's going to be listening to a lot of do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So, yeah. He'll be just fine.
Great song. Great song. Just an absolute.
That is. It's a great song. Well, the Lions definitely had an indication that it was coming. They definitely had an indication.
You heard Rap say that.
Yeah, and that's why, Dan, when he talked about it, we've been in communication with those players. I definitely think Dan even had a feeling. I'm not going to say it to the media, but they knew that Frank was on the verge of retirement.
Can I be honest? I think they knew earlier than people thought. I think the only reason it was announced June 1 was because that's there's that deadline, the June 1 deadline that everyone talks about, post June 1, pre-June June 1. And I know I saw someone, I think it was Mike Payton, put out there today that the Lions actually didn't officially put Frank in there on the retired list. But I still think that there was some type of a post June 1 situation with the money, to where the money kind of, it saves the Detroit Lions money that he waited until after June 1st. Right. So the money is completely different to where the Lions now have more money next year than they would have if he did it pre-June 1. So I think, and this is just me thinking it, obviously.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think Rap Sheet obviously said that they knew he was going to do this. This wasn't a thing like, hey, this week, why isn't he at OTAs? He retires. I'll put my, my wizard hat on. I think they knew before the draft. I think after the season, Frank said, hey, I got to consider this, guys. This is a real conversation. And knowing what Frank Ragnow is about, what this organization currently right now is all about, I would say I think Frank probably let them know going before the draft, so they knew, hey, if they have to make some sort of moves. Because it all makes sense and it all circles back, boys. Do you remember the 3 days of the draft? We were sitting there why did they go 2 interior offensive linemen. Like that was kind of odd. Like, yeah, the guys were there and they got steals out of both of the guys, but it was a little odd that you see 2 interior instead of maybe like an interior and a tackle with Taylor next year. And it all makes sense that I'm sure Brad and Dan and all them knew, like, hey, Frank most likely is not going to be back in the future. And it's not the fact of, hey, we should have drafted the center. They might not have liked the center in this class. It was probably more so like, hey, we know Graham can move to center. Let's give ourselves an option at guard with Miles Frazier and with Tate Ratledge. And that was probably the mindset that they went with it. Like, hey, let's just get the best interior guys we can. If they can play center, that's a bonus. If not, we got Graham and these guys can play guard this year. We can work on that. So with those reports, it makes me feel as if Frank let them know pre-draft and they had some sort of idea that this was kind of coming up this offseason. So that kind of, I respect Frank for doing that. If that's the case, that's big. And I, not that I wouldn't if he didn't, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's definitely a big part of this story.
Yeah, I'd imagine Frank would definitely keep him in touch. And I believe the reports, but at least he did give him a heads up, because with or without a heads up, like you're still replacing a top 2 center in the NFL, maybe 3. And that's a top 4 or 5 offensive player on your team. So at least they know that they had a plan going for it to replace him, hopefully, and that it's going to be able to succeed, because Frank's just a huge loss in general, with or without it, like with or without a notice.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.